So I need some flags in the background, maybe from Bavaria or Franconia.
So the start is in around 1 minute.
Yep. Well, I need a white background first.
Okay, I switch on my off my microphone in case, or I'm silent, I think. Now you can hear me again, or?
Yep.
Okay, then I can make it manual.
Okay, T-10. Good afternoon to all of you, and I hope the joining went well and your waiting was worth the while. You entered the session about AI, data, and robotics, building wider synergies around Europe. First of all, I would like to get in contact with you. So for starters, I would like you to use the chat function you see on the right side of your screen and to type in a 1 if you can hear me and a 0 if you can't or not well. So we just see that everybody's with us and is listening to us. So maybe we can see the first people get involved. I'll do it myself. Yeah, wonderful. Good. And now that you found the chat function, you get to the Q&A part, because in the Q&A part, we will poll your questions and you can vote for other questions. So, because we want to get in contact with you and with the audience. So our question would be to that you place your questions in the Q&A part and not in the chat function, because it's hard to monitor. And if you've got this Q&A question, you can put good questions up. So I would like to introduce myself very briefly. My name is Fabian Kohler. I'm a Deputy Head of Division Policy Issues, Digitalisation and Debt Transfer in the Directorate Research for Technological Sovereignty and Innovation in the Federal Ministry of Education and Research in Germany. So that aside, I would first like to thank the Idealist Network for setting up this wonderful session, especially Edina Nimitz, Kim Davis, and Giro Gouillou. But this session is all about the partnership on AI, data, and robotics. And the coordinated action plan on AI calls for building national AI strategies around Europe. You've read that in the proposal of this session. And this session, we want to explore the potential to deepen synergies among European research and national AI initiatives, and the European Partnership on AI, Data and Robotics, and the AI for EU platform, and all, of course, within the context of Horizon Europe and the Digital Europe program. So that's the setting, the framework, how we can deepening these the correlation of all these programs. To learn more, we have two dedicated speakers. First, Cécile Huet from the European Commission, and she's Deputy Head of the unit Robotics and Artificial Intelligence at the Commission, and this unit is in charge of one of the world's largest civilian program on robotics, with a budget of 700 million EU funding from Horizon 2020 and plus 2.1 billion from the industry in the context of the public-private partnership. And Cécile joined the unit in 2004, and in 2015 she has been selected as one of the 25 women in robotics you need to know about. So I think we have the right speaker there. And the second one, I would like to give a warm welcome to Thomas Hahn. He's a chief expert software at Siemens AG since 2011, and he's within the company since 1986 and worked as a product developer in the field of industrial networks. In 1999, he took over the management of software product development for industrial automation systems until 2011. And he is also a member of, or board member on various committees, including the OPC Foundation, Big Data Value Association, Open Lab, CERN, and Platform Industry 4.0 in Germany. So without further ado, let's go directly into the two presentations. And Cécile, would you please start and give us an idea why a partnership is the ideal instrument for the field of AI, data, and robotics? Please.
Thanks a lot, Fabian, for the introduction. So good afternoon, everybody. I hope we will have a very interesting discussion with you guys. And I first introduce our perspective on this PPP, public-private partnership on AI, data, and robotics. Yes. So first of all, to set the scene, just a matter of definition, what is a partnership in the framework of the Commission? So a European partnership is an initiative where the EU, together with the private or public partners, commit to jointly support the development and implementation of a program of research and innovation activities. So in this case, this is in the context of the Horizon Europe program that this partnership has been developed and is born. So what is very important in the main points and the main added value of building a partnership is because we want it to be more efficient than just having workshop and gather here and there input for the work program. It's a very efficient way because we have the commitment from the commission, from the community and the Commission, and we work together towards a same goal. So the first feature is directionality. So we all together work towards the same direction. We agree about a vision. So we define and we do implement together a strategy for Europe in AI, data, and robotics. So it has been born in the context of Horizon Europe, but it is not limited to that. It's a whole inclusive strategy to make Europe a leader in research, innovation, and deployment, but also to make sure that we reach strategic autonomy in these fields, that we can develop and deploy this technology the way we want and not impose the way others might want to. And we want Europe to be the place for scientists and investors as well. So we hope working together, joining force with the community to get to this common goal. Now, additionality is the second pillar of a partnership, because it means that we bring together, each of us bring together to be complementary. So we join forces and we have a long-term commitment from all parties, both the EC and the private partners. And the private partners represent the whole community. It's not only private entity, it does include the academias, the RTOs, the research organization, the industry all together, the developers of the technology, but all the rest, all the stakeholders in AI, being everybody basically, the civil society, the NGO, the user industry, the also the public services using AI. So this is the whole community that has to be part and mobilized to join this partnership. Now, as compared to the past, this PPP builds on two existing PPP from the past, BDVA on big data and robotics on this topic. But now we joined forces, bringing the three components together and with the whole AI community. And we want this new group being much stronger and ambitious than the previous isolated effort. And besides the strong link they have and and which makes sense to bring them together, and they will be much more powerful and provide a much more compelling offer to the potential user of the technology, building on where Europe is strong. Europe is strong, for instance, in industrial data. Europe is strong in robotics, in the B2B market. So let's join forces on these aspects and present a full offer to the user community and to the society, which can reap the benefit of what this technology can offer. Now we want to mobilize the whole community. So as I said, the developer and user industry and all the additional stakeholders, such as the standardization body important for the innovation, the civil society essential for the adoption, the unions to make sure that we reply to the needs of the workers, the education, which is key. We need the skills to develop and also to use the technology, and we have to bring those people, those groups together to define and implement a strategy which would be very strong and solid for Europe. And now the key point is joining forces with the member states. So as Fabian said, we have the coordinated plan on AI, defining ways to collaborate with the member state. And we have now to work together as well with the PPP to define really concrete ways on how to work together. So how can we build synergy with existing programs in the member states? How can we have the help of the member state to mobilize their community to join the PPP? How can then the member state can also mobilize their community to take part in calls and also to disseminate the outcome of the program? And for instance, in the awareness raising of every citizen, every potential user industry, we find it essential to involve the member states and have a very close cooperation together with the PPP. And we want, of course, to maximize the impact of our action. Now, it is all very much linked to our policy and the white paper on AI, where we define the way to build an ecosystem of excellence and an ecosystem of trust. So you know that the technology progress goes hand in hand with the regulatory framework, and we have to carefully define that and have involve all the necessary stakeholders to make it successful. So this is why also the PPP is expected to help in that. Now, just on the process of building the PPP, just few points. So the PPP has been working on a partnership proposal, like to prepare, let's say, a contract with the Commission, which is called an MOU. Then, in parallel, the contractual arrangement is in the drafting, has been prepared for several months, as you can see here. And in parallel, the most important element, I would say, is the strategic research and innovation and deployment agenda that Thomas will explain in a bit more detail very soon. And those elements will come together to sign with the Commission a memorandum of understanding towards the end of this year, and it has to be in place before we launch the first program of Horizon Europe. And in parallel of all these activities, we are developing the work program calls. And so taking into account, so now we have had the first draft, and now we are going to take into account the first input received by the SRIDA, received by the community. So this was the introduction from my side, and I'm ready to take your question in the session afterwards. Thank you again.
Cécile, thank you very much for this first insight on the setup of the partnership. And now, of course, we are eager to learn about the first input we can get from the partnership itself. So we would like to hear from Thomas what to expect from the partnership from a technological point of view.
Perfect. You can hear me, hopefully clear and precise. I'll switch over to my slide deck, and hopefully you can see it now too, my slides. As a reason, can you see my slides? Yes, I hope. Fabian, you can see it. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. The screen went gray.
And now, but maybe I'll start.
Okay.
Maybe I'll start. You know, Cécile has introduced this. You know, there are some running organization. You mentioned BDVA and Robotics, and of course you mentioned before about Robotics topic. But you including also, and that's quite important.
Your screen sharing has been disconnected.
Okay, now the screen sharing has been disconnected. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No, sorry. We see the
Yeah,
slides.
go ahead with your screens. Good.
Okay.
So, we have started regarding starting your topic here regarding the BDVA Euro Robotics. But important is here really that we have included also the communities from let's say from AI and meaning with Claire, with Alice, and of course Euro AI. So meaning we are bringing together, let's say, the 5 parties which we need to have a complete picture. And how we are doing this, and this is an important thing which you're seeing here on the right, is in a collaborative approach, bringing together different parties, bringing together the experts, bringing together the industry representatives, bringing the startup communities, bringing together the small and medium-sized company, and collaborating. This is what you're seeing here on the right side, and this is always where I like to share this slide, that we have to do it in a collaborative way, an open, inclusive way. And why we are doing this is, of course, when you're looking now to the left side, from the technology perspective, we have to cover, let's say, different domains, meaning we have to look what is ongoing in the performance computing, high performance computing, what is going on in connectivity, what is going on in the verticals, how we get value out of the data, and how we get value out of the data via methods of AI. Meaning we are bringing, let's say, these 3 pillars, AI, data, and robotics, together to achieve something in and for Europe. And to be honest, in one of the other domain, we are very present and very active, so we can bring this over, and we have also some kind of advantage from Europe out of Europe. And when you're looking at the middle, of course, we have to look what is the impact business. That's the reason why I show later also some quotes from the different communities. We have to look how we are doing this. This yellow bluish picture is a little bit about how we can establish some kind of AI framework. I will come later to this. And of course, we have to look what the functionality is. Maybe one slide ahead, please. And now one slide only. It was one too fast. And no, in the middle. Stop. Perfect. And here you are seeing quotes from different topics. Here seeing, for example, when you're looking at the left corner and the bottom, you see here what is ongoing as a statement from Barry. He was a former president of Euro AI. Think about this is some kind of collaborative work where he said it bringing the different domains together, research and industry. Or when you're looking at the right side, second one from the bottom, from the top, statement from Morten. That's, let's say, bringing over what we can do, what we can achieve together, and why we are doing this. And now maybe you look at the left side in the upper corner, where you have the statement from the CTO from Philips, or below from my boss, or in the middle, directly in the middle, from Jürgen Müller, by the way, he's the former president of BDVA. You're seeing also what AI can create for impact for the economy, for society, or to make it in a nutshell, for all of us. So that's meaning only to give you some kind of motivation. Please to the next slide. Okay, how we have done this? I said it before, we have here created together and joint initiative. You see it here on the button from BDVA, Claire, Alice, Euro AI, Euro Robotics, and of course in cooperation with the Commission, we set up and joint activities. So we are working on this, and that's the reason why we today, and this is the most important topic, I will also phrase this later, we today launched also together our first strategic research and innovation and deployment agenda, where you can get, let's say, information about how we are addressing this, what we are doing together, what is needed for AI, what is available from data, what is needed from data, and how we can apply this, for example, in the robotics area. That's what we have done. This was some kind of journey. When you start going one slide ahead, please. This was a journey which is, let's say, several steps we have achieved. You know, Cecile mentions this. We have started here with the robotics and BDVA collaboration. It was done roughly one year, 8 months ago in Vienna as an ICT conference where we started the cooperation. We brought very soon some kind of joint visioning and first releases of your, let's say, research agenda. We have done this by us. When you're looking in the middle, maybe you see in the bottom, in the top, the picture from Maria Gabriel, who mentions this during the AI Alliance assembly meeting last June. Then you're looking at the bottom, we included other initiatives, for example, EXO, ETP for HPC, think about that we have to cover the complete chain with the HPC community. We included this with IoT and so on. And now we have launched the version 3 of the 3 document. The first joint version, to be honest, is above 130 pages thick, so enough to read, where we prepared jointly, let's say, input what from our perspective, meaning including the opinion from research, from industry, small, medium size, big research, big companies, but also from startups, what is needed to achieve. And of course, we are also in very close link to the member states initiatives. Please, next slide. Okay, only to give you a snapshot, these are some kind of cooperations. And when you're just going one slide ahead, we are planning also in the partnership here some additional cooperation which we have on our target, because we think, and that's the important thing, we have to look and again think about my first picture where I've described a little bit from the HPC stuff over the connectivity, over the analytic stuff and so on to create value out with AI, out of the data. We cannot do this alone. So we have a lot of partnership ahead of us. You see this, and only to mention 2 topics. I was just before, 1 hour before, in the Open Science Cloud partnership, where I invited inside to speak about this, only to raise 2 topics. And we are also in strong contact with the Gaia X Association, because it's somehow some kind of initiative where we can secure and trustful data infrastructure, which we are targeting out of Europe. So meaning, again here, this is a joint effort. We have today achieved a first milestone, big milestone, because it's visible in a document which we can share, which you can distribute, and which you get later also the link to this document. Please, one slide ahead. So in a nutshell, why we are doing this, and besides the fact about this collaborative approach, this joint effort, besides the topics that we have to look how we're handling the different technologies, we are doing this because we have a clear vision what we can do regarding in Europe, for Europe, out of Europe, when we're combining the right experts from the research industry, different research aspects, different industry together, and to achieve something towards the AI, data, and robotics. For sure, and this is also an let's say potential topic for an export on the European values and rights and principle. That's in a nutshell to give you a short update. Later I have also some kind of slides about the deep dive regarding what are the content inside the 3 document. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Thomas, thank you very much. So to the audience, we have the first questions that arrived and that have been voted from you. So to all of you that have not seen this part, on the right side of your screen, you'll see Q&A, and you go, you see the published questions. And if you see a question that raises your interest, you can vote for this question. So we just take a deep dive into one of those and take the first one that has 4 votes already. And the question is, which role shall the current AI for EU project play in the upcoming partnership? So Thomas, maybe this is one for you.
I've not heard it technical wise. There was some kind of interruption between which.
The AI for EU project. Which role shall it play in the upcoming partnership?
The AI for you, sorry for this, it was exactly what I missed this word. Sorry, the connection was partly broken. The AI for you has a task to have an AI and demand platform. You can expect that we are working with these colleagues together. We are inside. We are here as a partner inside. They are partnering with us. So some kind of collaborative approach, meaning for sure we need for Europe an AI on demand platform, and this which is we maybe expecting is the wrong word, but we wish to get out of the AI for EU project, meaning collaborative, using what is possible, distributing the effort to spend well.
Thank you.
Maybe I could add few words from the Commission, because this is an initiative we started a few years ago. So with the first call in Horizon 2020, and this is the beginning of a long-term effort to build a very strong platform that would be the single access point to all the resources we have. So it should be instrumental to all the activity we're going to do, including, of course, all the PPP-related activities.
Mm-hmm. And I've just seen also another question regarding the slides. For sure will be available on the web page, which I've just shown before. It was only one question I got before. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I want to bring to your attention that we have now published some polls you can see up front. If you go to polls, then you see some questions we ask, and then you can click your answer, and that just gives us an overview. For example, I just want to dive into the last one. Does your country have a research and innovation funding program dedicated to AI, data, and robotics, or let's say part of them? This is an interesting question, because we have now around about 70% with yes and 30% with no. That's of course interesting, because we also want to reach out to countries who doesn't have their own agenda. So maybe Cecile, you can comment on that.
Sorry. Sure. Yeah. In the context of the coordinated plan, one of the first activities or task, together we agree with the member state, is to define that each member state would define their own member state strategy, and they do it somehow in also checking what the other have done to make sure that they take inspiration and are somehow aligned where needed with the other one. And the goal is that we exchange information between the member states and with the Commission, which would then be very useful when we want to align activities. So that's why we have these regular meetings with the member states and trying to encourage them to develop their national strategy and inform each other, so that we can also be stronger when we work together.
Yes, thank you very much. So let's take another question and see what are the challenges to bring the public sector into these initiatives. So I guess public sector means when it comes to the public sector using achievements from research and innovation. Are there first thoughts about that in the SRIDA?
For sure, we have some first thoughts inside this reader. We are working together on discussing together with public sectors, and maybe coming back to and of course the use for this, like you mentioned, Fabian, before, and that's where we have attached this in this reader document. Of course, this reader at the moment is mainly focused, let's say, on more technical content, but like I mentioned before, also we want to create impact, and that's for sure. This is one impact area which we are addressing. This. We have not a dedicated section inside, but we touch this in the different flavors from this reader.
Maybe because we are just talking about the SRIDA, maybe you can again give some insights of how far are we in the SRIDA, what would be the best way of the different communities to interact now to get new content into this reader, what would you suppose would be the first way to get in contact?
The first way, of course, to read what we have written down until today. Sorry for this, to phrase it in this way. No, but seriously, we have maybe I explained a little bit about the process, how we are coming to this reader. I mentioned the 5 corporations before who worked, and when you look also inside this reader document, you see also in I think on page number 3 a signature from everybody from us that this is really what we want to achieve together and what we have done together. That's the first issue. Second issue, we have done before we are filing or prepared this reader, we have done some kind of consultation process. Cecile, remember, we have, I think, beginning in June, July, 2 workshops with, don't ask me, 500, 600, 700 participants, where we have and different participants, from the government side, from the industry association side, from the startup, from the research side. So, different. We have done some consultation and prepared them, and I can only tell you, we get a lot of comments out of this directly, or also to the let's say to the 3 document. And then when we are going a little bit more into the details, for sure we have done dedicated consultations. For example, the AI colleagues have consulted their huge network from the research and industry communities. For example, I was also asked for the AI consultation part, where we get roughly 200 feedbacks. From the deep dive in data, there are some kind of communities, processes where we collected this information. Or when you're speaking about robotics, then they have used a 30 topics group to doing this and providing content. Meaning we have done a huge exercise to cover, let's say, the responses from the community. I am well aware this is maybe only a small portion, and from people we have to link to this initiative, for sure. That's the reason why we set up also this web page, which I have shown before, where we can contribute to this, also ongoing contributing to this, because the actual reader paper is not a one shot, because we have to develop this further, and thinking about our time in the BDVA, I think we have done 3 or 4 versions of the reader document in the last 7 years, only to give you a feeling. Meaning we have done for this reader, which we published today, some kind of, let's say, huge consultation upfront. Done, like I mentioned before, public one versus still also colleagues from the Commission were participating, or dedicated communities, let's say, something that we have discussed for the AI, and now we are really opening up and collecting the input, because now we have filed one version, but I can imagine that we have to develop this further, because also especially in the area of AI data and also robotics, also the changes in the technologies are very fast, and also the needs for the technologies are increasing, or also, let's say, the changes of needs and the usage of technology is changing. So meaning we have anyway to react agile, what is provided to us, and of course is our obligation, which between us the 5 partners and others, to get the input. And by the way, also the AI on demand platform, because we have just discussed this before, they have also from the AI for you, they have also some kind of network where you can contribute on a, let's say, an electronic way to contribute this and to push your thoughts, solutions, or also questions or demands, recommendations inside this reader processes, which of course isn't, like explained, an ongoing one. Okay, thank you. Good. Before we get us, first of all, I would like to thank the audience for posing so many interesting questions. So
I see a big involvement in this research area. So, but I've got one question I would like to put to Cecile, just to because this is really interesting for me. I'm sitting in the committee of Cluster 4. I'm the delegate, head of delegate, or the delegation of Germany. So when it comes to how do we link all the different programs, we have now the partnership, we have the work programs in the clusters. There was one question of when the work programs will be released. I don't know if you can answer that already. And then we've got the Digital Europe program. So how do we get all these parts aligned? And is there something like a group on top of it all, or how do we make a whole out of this mess?
Yeah. So first of all, as a coordinating unit, we are dealing with the different topics. So there are a number of people overseeing a bit all the different activities to make sure that there is no overlap, and then we contact with the other team, for instance, using the technology in other parts of the program. So this is our work, but we expect also a big role from the PPP, and we are going also to ask them to develop synergy, for instance, with the PPP dealing with healthcare. And then where do we hand the activity of enabling technology like it will be done in this PPP, and the one on using the technology such as in healthcare. So these are the kind of activities that we do foresee. And then in terms of, so that is between cluster, I would say, in Horizon Europe. Now we also, as I said initially, for me, the strategy is the strategy for Europe. And as this PPP has rightly put it, is research, innovation, deployment of the technology. And so deployment is part of the Digital Europe program, and it's for us very important that we build strong synergy between the two. We avoid overlap. I mean, the scope of Horizon Europe is different than the scope of the Digital Europe program. Digital Europe program is there to fill a gap between what we have been doing in the past, research, innovation, and piloting to some extent, with now the new activities in the Digital Europe program, which means that we want to do the for instance, the testing and experimentation facility. So it's a different in-depth test in real or realistic environment. So these are things we have never done in the past in Horizon 2020. And this is to complement. So when results are proven in the lab, so this is what we do, or in prototype, this is what we do in Horizon Europe, they need to be then tested in real environment so that you can deploy. And it's particularly important for AI-based technologies, including in robotics, because you bring a certain level of autonomy in system. You'd better carefully and fully test them at scale as well in real environment before being able to deploy them. And this is particularly what we've seen in robotics, for instance, and in AI. In the context of the COVID crisis, we have plenty of very nice results from H2020, but they have not been sufficiently tested in real situation to be able to say, listen, here in hospital environment, here is a tool that has been fully tested. You can easily integrate it in your workflow. So these are the kind of things, this gap we are going to fill with the depth. And for that, we need the help of the PPP, because they have their stakeholder on board to define priorities, to define, for instance, in Digital Europe program, on which use case the technology should be tested, where it is mature enough so that it is tested and can give rise then to new application and innovation and deployment. So this is the kind of interaction we see.
And maybe to add from my side, because Cecilia mentioned what we have to do in partnerships, that's exactly the reason why I have shown you these two slides about existing and planned partnerships. Because really, when we have to bring the stakes, the knowledge together, and that's the reason why I also was starting, we have to cover somehow what is relevant for us, let's say technology stack, and you can do this not by your own, you have to partner. And that's the reason from the partnership perspective, what we have to do and which we are doing in this way. So now,
as part of the exercise among the I think Fabian has a technical problem, so that's why I was going to explain a bit in the context of the PPPs in general. So there are more than 40 PPPs in the building, so they have to define synergies among themselves, and this comes from all the different PPPs. Yourself, you have identified some of the PPPs you want to prioritize to work on. either be it on technology, so such as HPC and so on, but also on user side. And this is where then the synergies will develop between the community, and this will help us to define priorities in the work program.
And besides the partnerships, maybe to add is also important that we have, especially in the area of AI, data and robotics, what are, let's say, connections to startup communities to look what are new business opportunities. So we have also a close link besides the partnerships which I have shown before, also a close link to the startup community. This is on the one side. And then on the other side, we have also to look what is today our backbone in Europe. What are especially our small and medium-sized company, and to be honest, here we are looking forward also because to get a real scale up, we are also targeting, let's say, industry associated health. I think you mentioned before, Cecile, for example, where we are really looking what are the needed cooperation, because at the end, and this is really where I'm persuaded from, we're bringing the right pillars together. We have to openly collaborate, inclusive collaborate, and bringing the right partners with the right knowledge or the right expertise together and looking what our strengths are, where we can build on our strengths, and that's the topic to the startup, where we can enhance this for future opportunities from research and from industry. It's not a task alone.
Okay.
And now you're back, Fabian. We have just covered somehow.
I recovered from data loss. We have a number of further questions I would like to dig into. So I think the upmost question with 14 votes has been answered by you just now. So I think we can skip that. But the next question is about the non-data and non-robotics AI topics that will be addressed in Horizon Europe. We will focus that now on the partnership, because there's, of course, a lot of this topics going on in the work program, but I think we should focus here on the partnership. Cecile, would you like to start? And maybe you could give short answers so we get the opportunities to pose some more questions.
Just quickly, as you have seen, all the AI communities have been involved, so machine learning and non-machine learning. So I think this is built in, and the way the community is open, the PPP is open, wants to have these different components.
Okay.
That's a short one.
Yes, thank you. Thomas, you want to add something?
No, I think Cecile covered it perfectly. We are covering really the different aspects. For sure, we'll, let's say, elaborate new ones. Think about my words, it's changing technology and a lot of changing businesses and so on. But I think Cecile covered this quite good.
Yes, thank you. There's another question about the first calls. Now, this is a specific question on AI testing and experimentation facilities, but of course, maybe we can give a short view on when the work program, if everything goes well, will be published and when the first calls will be opened. I think it's an open secret that we talk about spring next year, but Cecile, can you get into contact a little bit closer to that?
Yeah, so we expect the programs to be launched beginning of the year, and then the first calls to be open as soon as possible in the spring, and hopefully to have already result the first project launch before the end of the year, so towards the fall of next year. That's a wish. We hope everything goes well. And here, the call regarding testing experimentation facilities. So the first one would be on Edge AI, so the testing experimentation facilities for Edge, and then the few months later will come the one on the 4 application which have been prioritized, being healthcare, smart communities, agriculture, and I've lost the last one, manufacturing, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think we all know that we had some struggling with the budget discussions, but I think everybody's doing the best to have the calls as open as soon as possible. The next question might be interesting for you, Thomas. There's the question if there is a list of official European industrial groups supporting the initiative.
We have the list. maybe writing this down. Maybe we have not yet published this, but we can do this. I take this as an because I remember where we are speaking with, and where I'm also contacted around Europe from other initiatives. I think we have a list, and we will publish this.
So one question I would like to pose to both of you is, again, a little bit the alignment between the national activities and what is done in Europe. I mean, of course, there's a strong linkage by the work in the program committees, and but still, is that enough? Is there more that can be done? Because otherwise we have 27, 28 bottom-up or even more programs and something on top that might not fit everywhere. So maybe just on this is a question for myself, sorry. How can we get better on that?
First, I would say that we need to better exchange information. We need to find mechanism in place to facilitate that. It should not be a burden, something which is difficult to implement. So an easy way to collaborate, to exchange, and then thanks to the communities as well, have in the PPP they expect to have ambassadors, so national ambassadors. So linking on the one hand from the ministry side, but on the other hand from the community side to represent what's happening at national level, what's happening at European level, so that we can be more efficient and go build synergies and avoid repetition and share resources when possible.
And thanks, Cecile, mentioning the ambassador concept. This is what we have implement and will enhance regarding the connection to different member state initiatives. Only to give you two examples, for example, one of our partners, EuroAI, has anyway some kind of local subsidiaries in the different countries. So they have, per definition, let's say, the link to the different member states. Second issue, when you're looking at CLARES, they have a huge network of research institutes, mainly, and industry, and partners inside. The same is valid for BDVA. We have exactly established some kind, and we used also the word ambassador network, and similar topic for Alice and Robotics. So we're bringing really together, let's say, the member state initiative and say a European AI data and robotics initiative. Maybe one word to this, it should be not, let's say, some kind of heavy synchronization, because it's not good. We have really to bring this, let's say, in a smart, orchestrated way. Maybe this is the best word to describe this, and that's what you're doing. And give you one hint, Fabian, only directly, we have in November the European Big Data Value Forum in Berlin, Presidency of Germany, and this is done together with the platform learning system, for example, and with the platform industry 4.0, only to give them some hint how we are doing this in reality. Of course, we can always improve and to think about it, but this is only something.
Okay, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, we are about to get to the end of the session, because I think it was 45 minutes, and maybe we get to a last question about Kim Davis. I see here. Do you see the partnership over time evolve into one that requires more contribution from industry and European countries? I think this is a nice question to end the session. Quick answers from you, Cecile, and then from you, Thomas.
Gradually, I think it's a hint towards a JU maybe one day. So for sure, I mean, once the member states are ready to co-invest, that's something to be discussed, to see how we can even more have stronger link with member states through this more formal link. But I think we should first work with what we have, gradually learn to know each other, to work with each other, and then once we are solid, maybe consider this aspect as well.
Okay. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you, Cecile. Sorry, Thomas.
Maybe
please.
to add, I think we have always to improve. That's the first question. I think we have done here how we set it up, this partnership. We have done let's say, our best. You see this here. You have still seen the screen with the last line well balanced. That's what we are trying, and maybe you have smelled also where we're looking at that industry association in the research topic in startup communities. Of course, we have to improve this and think about this as really a topic which is developing very fast. So we have to wrap into
Maybe a last word from my side, where we see also very strong link with member states. We have not developed so much today, but it's the outreach towards the citizens, towards the user industry, because they still have a bad perception about the technology. And we all need to do a much better effort in explaining clearly what the technology is about, what are the limitations, what they can offer today to citizens, to small companies. And for that, we need member states who can talk to their citizens with their language and know their societal, also cultural environment, and adapt to that. So this is again a way where we need strong cooperation.
Okay, I just learned that we have some more minutes, we just go on because there are so many interesting questions. And thank you for the audience to being involved so much. So the question that pops up on front is, do you have objectives, activities towards standardization? Thomas, I guess this is one for you.
We are collaborating with standardization committees, because when you're asking somebody, I'm coming from industry, so standardization, and you mentioned, by the way, in my intro, I'm also a member of a standardization body regarding IoT topic, and by the way, also in the discussion we had also about standardization in the European Open Science Cloud, where I was participating just before. There was also the topic about standardization of data. So meaning, yes, we have to do this, because when you really want to scale up heavily, you have to have some standards. Of course, this will be in an agile environment, maybe some kind of also de facto standards, also maybe standards which have classical approaches, like when you're speaking about an ISO or ISC standard. And by the way, they are all running committees also in the IEEE, for example, regarding I wanted to mention this, or when you're looking at the FD42 in the EIC, they are looking at the AI topic. So there is a link. We have established a link, and by the way, we have also cooperation, for example, with our European standardization committees, and only to mention one is Senelec. So we are pushing this, we are driving this, and of course this is one what we have to do. And it's especially also when we have to scale up, because then we can really have and scale out also to, let's say, international standard, international use of our technology.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, the next question is about the partnership being well balanced, and now Robert Link asks about how about governments and NGOs. I think we talked about governments already, how to be involved, about the public sector, but how NGOs, and also related to trustworthy AI. I mean, when it comes to especially data, personal data, robotics relaying on that data, the trustworthiness is a very big issue. So how would you comment on that?
Yeah, for the trustworthiness, only to mention, we are let's say, and that's the reason why, by the way, if you remember one of my slides where I have just briefly mentioned the AI Alliance Assembly meeting, and this was exactly a session about trustworthy AI, where also some kind of first recommendation from the high-level group was published. So we were involved inside, so it's not a contradiction. Regarding government or involvement of government, we have, let's say, well-established mechanisms. Cecilia knows this is partner board, where we have a close link also to other association, and of course, when you're speaking about NGOs, we are on the one side maybe members, and on the other side also we are pushing forward to get in contact with them, like I mentioned, for example, before.
Okay, thank you very much. Cecilia, you want to comment?
Yeah, I can comment on that. As I said in the slides, so for me, the PPP is also an instrument to help us building or supporting the white paper on AI, where we define an economy an ecosystem of excellence and an ecosystem of trust. So the PPP will help us also defining and implementing the regulatory framework. So we need continuous interaction with people in the field to guide some decisions, some implementation mechanism. So I think we have to work hands in hands with the community, and the PPP is a very nice channel to do that and to have access to all the different stakeholders.
And to be honest, that's the reason why I already mentioned we have to be open, collaborative, inclusive, because when we, that's the reason maybe for some of us are boring, because I use always this slide at the beginning. That's really a key that we are doing this.
Okay, last minutes approaching. The first question from Ersin, is about Hi. He's wondering what you think about Industry 4.0, and because they want to make a project in conformity with Industry 4.0. So because in Industry 4.0 we have a lot of linkage to robotic questions, and I think this partnership could be some kind of further evolvement of that.
Should I answer?
Yes, please.
Okay. Maybe back. I'm the member of the steering committee of the German platform Industry 4.0, and we have also in Europe collaboration with different Industry 4.0. If it's named Industry 4.0, is named Future of Automation. However you name the initiative, to be honest, I would not take care for. Of course, Industry 4.0 was a good brand which are circulating around the world. So meaning in this area, we have per definition per persona Thomas Hahn and strong link, because I'm always have in mind what we are doing with AI, data, and robotics. We have to look in different verticals, and manufacturing industry or Industry 4.0 related industry is one of the backbones beside others. I will not, this we have also other verticals in doing so. So meaning, yes, we are cooperating with this. And by the way, sorry, Fabian, to raise it back, also our events are when adequate is a collaboration with let's say initiatives which are running in this aspect. But don't get me wrong, Industry 4.0 is one initiative, but we have also topics around health, energy market, and so on. As a meaning, you have also to look and of course of finance and so on. So we have a lot of other domains which we are looking inside. And we have to do this in a similar way, like we are doing this, for example, with Industry 4.0.
Thank you. So the next question goes to Cecile, and this is an easy one that will be not answered today, I guess, but what will be the budget of this new partnership and who will govern the partnership? Maybe the second one can be answered, but the first one not. But Cecile, please.
Now she's calculating, Cecile.
Yeah, I guess.
Should be high number.
Can you hear me? I think we lost her. So
yeah, let's see. More
information.
You don't hear me?
Yes, I will hear you. Now we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I saw some messages, but I was not sure. Yeah, regarding budget, unfortunately, I cannot answer to that question. And it's very political and under debate at the moment. So it's not. No one has the answer, I think, at this time. Regarding the governance, then it's also evolving and in the building. Maybe Thomas, you can say a bit more. But yeah.
And maybe to add, of course, investment and so on from the public side and private side is relevant. And I can tell you also from the BDVA past, we have got also a good leverage factor from the public investment to the private investment. But for me, it's more important, to be honest. Maybe every number which Cecile is now telling is maybe in 1.5 year, let's say, reversed or something else. It's more about to build the ecosystems that we're driving this together forward, because when we have the right ideas, when we have the right experts together, when we have the right attitude to drive this forward, this is a topic which are really we have to address forward. And coming to the partnership, of course, we have some kind of members fees. It is really small for small companies or research institutes, and higher for bigger ones. But this is somehow to cover, let's say, and to support this ecosystem. And to be honest, that's for me the most important topic, to have a good with high impact ecosystem.
Okay.
Just a quick comment on the budget. Over budget, the Commission announced in the communication on AI is we want to fund 1 billion euro per year of EU funding to all the AI activity. So it's much more than the PPP, but it gives you some maybe order of magnitude.
Okay. So we are, I think, seconds from ending of the session. So I would like to give a very warm thank you to Cecile and to Thomas to answering all our questions. I hope the audience had a short while session and learned a lot. And thank you to all that participated with posing questions. Thank you for the back office, to Edina, to Kim, to everybody who helped us with the polls, with the questions, and to the technical staff that provided the session. Thank you to all, and we wish you nice sessions after this. You will get, I think, the slides and everything online. And thanks from my side to you, and have a good day.
Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.